This episode is a special encore presentation of Work Trends. Welcome to the Work Trends podcast from Talent Culture. I'm your host, Megan Ambiro. Every week, I interview interesting people who are reimagining work. And be sure to check out our Work Trends Twitter chat events calendar located at talentculture.com on the podcast page. Welcome, everyone, to the Talent Culture Work Trends podcast, sponsored by Orion Talent. Today, we are here to talk about diversity, inclusion, and how hiring veterans can help you exceed your goals on both counts. These days, the business case for diversity and inclusion makes itself. For example, according to Deloitte, cognitive diversity enhances team innovation by 20%. It's also a talent attractor, with Glassdoor reporting that 67% of job seekers consider diversity and inclusion performance when deciding to take a job. But you're also facing an incredibly competitive job market. Between the Great Resignation and the pandemic complications, well, you know where I'm going with that. The good news is that you can find diverse, capable candidates if you're willing to think outside the box. In fact, according to SHRM, as many as 360,000 men and women leave military service each year, and those veterans represent a major untapped talent pool for employers. They're capable problem solvers, they're highly adaptable, detail-oriented, they're team players who know how to make tough situations work. Here to talk to us today about tapping into the veteran talent pool is Sarah Piker from Orion Talent. Sarah Piker joined Orion Talent as CEO in October of last year, bringing her more than 20 years of global expertise in recruitment process outsourcing and total talent management. As CEO, Sarah is executing on a strategic vision to help veterans bridge the gap between military and civilian careers and delivering veteran talent at scale. She is responsible for leading efforts to elevate Orion's position in the market by building on the company's strong reputation in military and diversity hiring, while amplifying its RPO and talent solutions offerings. So I am so excited Sarah's here. She's in Denver today, which is one of my favorite cities. And you know, you and I are just going to dive right in because I know you have a lot of knowledge to share with our audience.
Thanks, Megan.
You're welcome. So let me ask, why do veterans remain an untapped talent resource for some employers?
You know, that's an interesting question, but let's start with not everyone thinks about the U.S. military as an employer, but it's actually the largest employer in the world. So many companies have a lack of understanding and how to apply transitioning service members' hard and soft skills into civilian role. And that leads to this military and civilian gap or divide. Transitioning military personnel may not know how their skills will translate, and employers don't always see the connection and how the skills will fit. We speak different languages in the business and military world.
Yeah, we really do. So what obstacles, real or perceived, keep employers from hiring people formerly in the military? Like, why is this still happening?
Well, you know, as we were just saying, the difficulty in translating experience, and there's this misperception that a skill must be directly transferable in order for it to be relevant. And then there are misperceptions about veterans. Lots of people think that veterans are only able to follow orders, that they have PTSD, that they will be called back to active duty, that they're rigid, not free thinkers, or really good at thinking outside the box.
That is so true. Like all of these preconceived notions that we have. Now, some of them work in their favor if you're military, right? But some of them clearly don't.
That's right. And there are a lot of really, really great skills that are taught in the military that really benefit employers.
Now, let's take a short break to get an update from our advertiser, Included Health. I love this time of year. Spring is upon us, and for many benefits professionals, it's time to take action to meet the goals you've set for 2024. As employers, you're likely looking to right-size your benefits to ensure they're driving value for your employees and also your organization's bottom line. That's where Included Health can help. They make great healthcare easy to find, helping employees keep track of those amazing benefits, all while generating financial savings for you. This spring, they've got got a very special offer for our listeners. Visit included.health/talent. Included Health, designed to treat you better. Now back to the podcast and our special guest, Orion Talent. Talk to us a little bit about what are those winning mindsets of veterans and how do they benefit employers?
So there are many, but there's this mindset of persistent training. They're never too busy to train. They need to constantly be learning and improving. They think mission first and people always. They define and communicate what they're doing, its greater purpose and the why behind it, which I think is really important. They motivate people with a clear and captivating mission and ensure that it's really well communicated. Another great one is this 1/3 planning, 2/3 action mindset. And, it's super easy to get caught up in planning mode and with the hesitation to action, but plan well and don't overthink and build a bias for action is what the military teaches. Make changes as needed, but don't delay in getting started. And then another really great one that I love is this never stop innovating mindset, embracing technology, but keep moving forward. And the perpetual forward movement is the reality and the only way to maintain a talent advantage. And so those are just some of the mindsets that veterans bring to employers.
I think too many people out there think that the technology piece is missing.
I think so too, but if you think about what these veterans are doing, they are working on electronic systems, for example, that have to be maintained in the middle of a desert, an ocean, a jungle. Technology is critical for veterans.
Let's talk about what the unexpected advantages are here, because clearly there's many, but what are we missing in this mix, right? When we're hiring veterans into, we'll say civilian jobs, right?
Well, this talent shortage that we're experiencing right now, we hear 70% of companies are having a hard time finding the talent they need. So we're seeing that employers are putting an accelerated importance on soft skills. So not only did, as I just explained, the mindset of veterans, they come with soft skills like accountability, reliability, discipline, initiative taking, resilience, stress tolerance, adaptability, leadership, problem solving. Service members transitioning out of the military have these soft skills, but they're also very diverse. Another trend that we're seeing so much in the civilian world right now is this importance of hiring a diverse workforce. And the military is inherently around 40% racially diverse.
That's true.
It is true. But beyond being racially diverse, veterans also are a melting pot of people from different socioeconomic backgrounds. So you'll have someone from one of the bureaus of New York City working alongside someone that grew up on a farm in Georgia, a surfer from SoCal, a Cuban national who's joined the military as a path towards citizenship, and a cowboy plucked off a ranch in Wyoming. And this group becomes a team and then relies on each other, often in life or death situations.
Nothing like culture there, huh? When you really have to band together and say, how are we going to make this work? Let's stop talking and making excuses for why we're not collaborating. This is life or death. There's something kind of refreshing there.
Yeah. And I think, we think about diversity, we think a lot about gender, we think a lot about race, but we don't always think about the socioeconomic differences.
No question.
Another really great benefit is this problem solving. As I mentioned earlier, there's often a perception that veterans aren't great at problem solving, but it's actually an advantage that veterans bring because they have to tackle challenges with creativity and spontaneity rather than waiting for orders. For example, if a manufacturing system fails in the civilian world, it can cost a company money. In the military, if a system fails, it can cost people their lives. They have to maintain these critical systems in the middle of the ocean, the desert, the jungle, and they don't have the benefit of a Lowe's or Home Depot nearby to purchase what they need. So they have to adjust on the fly and problem solve to keep their systems functional at all times.
What would you say is the single biggest talent gap right now with hiring, and how can brands develop talent pools of veterans to narrow this gap?
Well, in this talent shortage, we're seeing it for both skilled and unskilled labor, and we're seeing a market for hourly talent like we've honestly never seen before. But there are some industries that we are seeing veteran talent really fit well: logistics, manufacturing, skilled or even unskilled technicians, IT, semiconductor, cyber, sales. There's a lot of demand for these kind of roles, and we're seeing that veteran talent is very well suited. And we're seeing that this happens particularly when there's an upskilling or reskilling program. And there are a lot of opportunities through workforce partnerships, whether that be the government, veteran affairs organizations, channel partners, companies like Orion, the Skill Bridge programs, the Department of Defense, industry recognized apprenticeship programs, IRAP. And there are just a lot of veteran resource groups to tap into.
What ways can employers start thinking about helping veterans to thrive in these types of civilian jobs? I mean, what should we be thinking about?
I think we need to think about veterans as a community, just like we do with many other underrepresented groups. So employee resource groups, or ERGs, give veterans the time and space to participate in those. Find champions within the organization, promote engagement in community. Mentorship is a really excellent way to nurture your veteran hires, but also transfer institutional and cultural knowledge from the veterans who've been in the civilian workplace to the new hires. So connect new hires with mentors as part of the onboarding process. Continue to set goals and define expectations that move the new hire forward. Veterans like to see a clearly defined career path. Lots of people do, by the way. And so be sure to show them what that looks like. Provide ongoing opportunities for additional training and skills development. Training in the military is an always on opportunity. And establish team building activities to further integrate them into the company culture. I think if you think of veterans as a community, like you would any other underrepresented group, and provide the kind of opportunities so they'll feel the inclusion, that's really what I think employers need to be thinking about.
And for those out there right now that are going, wow, we want to start hiring military tomorrow, what advice can you offer to companies looking to start hiring military like tomorrow?
Should I give you my number?
Yeah, exactly.
No, but first, I think it's very important to get the buy-in you need. Within a company, you really do need to get buy-in from key personnel, decision makers, talent acquisition professionals, human resources, operations managers. Make sure everybody is supportive in the goals of hiring military. I would set measurable goals and objectives. It's always critical to be able to track and measure results, including metrics on hiring performance data and retention rate. I think it's always very important to do your homework before determining your hiring model. Should you insource or outsource your military hiring program? You can consider using firms that regularly work with military veterans so your team can spend the time only on the candidates that are best matched for your industry and positions. But whatever model you opt for, build a hiring process that supports a positive candidate experience.
Oh, I'm so glad you just said that.
It's so true. I mean, a great candidate experience is just so important, particularly in this market. And this goes way beyond veterans. Having a candidate experience is so important, whether you hire that person or not.
So tell us, I want to hear a little bit about you. So what excites you about working with veterans, and where are you finding gratification in your job? Tell us more about that.
So, I joined Orion just about 4 months ago, and I came from a very large organization where I led the RPO team, and I loved it. I loved my job, frankly. But I decided to join Orion in part due to my passion for serving the veteran community. And I saw this opportunity to really help employers successfully engage this talent. And it's so gratifying to know that what we're doing can transform lives for veterans. We're helping people with passion, elevating the recruiting experience for everyone. And I have always loved the staffing industry because there's this dignity in work. And so when you combine being able to find somebody a job, so they can put food on the table, they can send their child to college, they can buy a car, they can do whatever it is that makes their world. And then you add in the purpose that Orion can bring with the foundation of hiring veterans, that opportunity to lead Orion to the next chapter is just the beginning. And that is so exciting and gratifying for me.
Well, I have to say, we have learned so much from talking to you today, and we're so excited to feature your voice in your company. I think you're doing amazing work, and I just kind of want to share it with the world. So here we are.
Hi, world.
Hi, world. We're ready to take you on, and you're doing meaningful work, and you should be very proud of yourself. So thank you for being part of the Talent Culture Work Trends community, Sarah.
Thank you, Megan. It was my pleasure.
Thanks for joining us today, and I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. You can hear all of our Work Trends podcasts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and beyond. And be sure to subscribe so you can listen on the go and stay up to date on all the latest news you need. Catch up with you next time, and I hope today's information made you wiser, happier, and more informed.